Okay. Well, welcome. My name's Michael Smith, and I'm with Peak Wellbeing. And today's topic is age reversal, true age reversal, what's real and what's a myth. And as I mentioned, I'd like to start off telling you a story about my younger brother. Many of you have heard about my older brother and what happened to him, but I realized just the other day that I'm now older than my older brother used to be. And so technically, that would make him my younger brother. And he's even now younger than my younger brother. Now, not to confuse you, that the the motivation for why I do what I do for taking care of myself and sharing this message of how to take the best care of you is I lost my brother 6 years ago to a cardiovascular event. He was out mountain biking with one of his sons when he had this event happen. It was a shock to all of us. It was a surprise, and it was something that um, changed my life forever. And it was a wake-up call that has saved my life and has made me more aware of how precious this life is. And so what I'd like to start off with is just take a moment to drop from your head to your heart to really listen to today's presentation from your heart. And I'd like to invite everyone to just close your eyes and take a deep breath and let that go and feel your body, feel the chair you might be sitting in, feel the what's resting, what your arms are resting on, feel the feeling of your feet on the floor, and to become more aware of your body and take your hands and bring them out in front of you. This is what is called a heart mudra, where you put your pinkies and thumbs together and imagine your heart out in front of you. And either silently to yourself or out loud say, "Thank you, heart. Thank you for the 100,000 beats you did for me yesterday without me even noticing, without me even having to think about it. And thank you for the 100,000 that you're doing today, of which I'm noticing that you deliver oxygen, nutrients, life-sustaining elements to every cell, organ, tissue, and system in my body." And then gently place that heart back inside of your chest. Thank you. Well, if you're in a place where you can turn your camera on, it would be great to be able to see you. If not, I understand. But I'd like to start off with a question, and you can either put the answer in the chat or type none of your business. But I would like to ask you, how old are you? Now, one of the things that I also invite you to do, if you're not sure, most people do know how old they are, is we all carry a piece of ID in our pockets, purses, wallets, all around to our driver's license that has this information on it that you can reference your driver's license to see where what your age is. And I have mine here in front of me, and I'm going to go over some of the information that applies to today's conversation and topic of, is age reversal possible? This piece of identification has my date of birth, And so I can deduce how old I am. I'm 56 on July 1st. It has my address, has my height, my weight, my eye color, my hair color, and it also has an expiration date. What if this was my expiration date? What if your expiration date was known? What if that was how many years you had left to live? Would you be doing things differently with your life? Or are you living the life of your dreams now? One of the things that we'll be talking about, there's a lot of useful information on the front. This picture shows the issue date of 2023. That was only 3 years ago. It looks different than how I look now. Does your picture from your driver's license look younger or older? Do you look different? When you look in the mirror, do you say, I look fine? I'm okay. We're going to be talking about how to read the information on the back side of your driver's license of it's a new camera that moves around. So if my face moves out of the picture, it doesn't know where to go. That what's behind the picture? What's behind the mirror? What's going on inside of your body? And yes, we have our chronological age, the number of candles on our cake. And I'm going to give away the ending. Is it possible to reverse the number of years you've lived? No. There is not possible for me to turn back the hands of time, but it is possible. We have two ages. We have a chronological age and we have a biological age. And our biological age is something that we can do something about. And that works both directions. There's things that we can do to accelerate our aging, to age faster, and there's things that we can do to reverse and decelerate our aging so that we're aging at a slower rate than the calendar is going by. So I'd like to first ask the question, and feel free to unmute and answer this question of what causes aging. I'd love to have this be a little more interactive and hear from you. I see that we've got some 62, 74, 71, 53. Stress causes aging. I see Tara. You can either unmute and say it or just put it in the chat. Well, it depends on what type of aging we're talking about. If we're talking about chronological aging, time causes aging. And the way to stop aging, well, my brother stopped aging at 52. I don't recommend this for anyone. If we're talking biological aging, and what Ashley Lee has put in the chat, genetic misinformation is yes, it's the imperfect cellular replication of our cells transferring that information to the next cell that is one of the leading theories of what causes aging. One is fixed, time keeps on marching on. The other is changeable and influenceable. And that's what we'll be talking about. Your birthday tells how long you've been alive. Your biology, your cells tell me how long you're going to stay healthy. So can you actually reverse biological age? The answer, if we're talking about growing younger, becoming 25 again, the answer is not yet. They're working on that with at Harvard and other labs for literally being able to come up with a pill that will allow people to reverse their age to any biological age of your choosing. They've discovered the code as well as the on and off switches, and we'll be talking about that. What about as far as biological function, though? What happens if your inflammation drops? How many of you heard of the term inflammaging? Inflammaging of aging being caused by inflammation or accelerating our aging because of the inflamed systemic inflammation that we have in our bodies. And this is something that's very real, according to our lifestyles, is determines how much inflammation we have in our bodies. And there's different tests that you can have done to find out how much inflammation you have in your body, your high sensitivity C-reactive protein, HSCRP, as well as IL-6 are indications or lab tests, blood tests you can have done to see what your inflammation is. Insulin sensitivity is another marker of aging, and or something that you can have do something about. Metabolic disease, metabolic syndrome is also a form of accelerating your aging. And George, good to see you. Just turn this camera on out in space. What about if your VO2 max improves? How many of you know your VO2 max? How many of you had a VO2 max done either by a show of hands or drop in the chat? I'm not saying I see a hand or two, three. Okay. So, there's a couple of different ways to do VO2 max. There's a treadmill, there's an exercise stationary bike. You can even do a VO2 max with an Oura ring out on a track where they track you with a GPS, and you can get a VO2 max score from an Oura ring. What if your muscle mass increases? How does that affect your biological age? What about if your grip strength improves? Grip strength is such an interesting indicator of aging and longevity. And it's not just because of how strong your grip strength is, it's a multi-systems test of your neurological capacity to fire off your muscles. It's also an assessment of your immune function to be able to quickly grip and to have a strong grip strength. They're not entirely sure why grip strength is such a good indicator of longevity, but there's a very high correlation between grip strength and longevity. It's very interesting. How about if you improve your sleep? How many of you have trouble sleeping or wake up during the middle of the night and have trouble getting back to sleep? How many of you are sleeping like a baby? I don't know if that's the right thing to say. Many babies are don't sleep so well. These parents that don't sleep so well with small children. We'll be talking about that. What about if immune function improves? One of the most important organs in the body, especially for our immune system, that most people haven't even heard about is the thymus. How many of you heard of the thymus before? It's a little butterfly-shaped organ that sits right below the breastbone, right above the heart. The doctors used to throw it away when they did open heart surgeries. They thought it had no more function or purpose. It's where all of our killer T cells and immune cells have come from. They're mostly active and released during our youth that last our whole lifetime. But it's such a beautiful, important organ in our body. And what about arterial stiffness? If arterial stiffness decreases and we have more flexibility in our arteries, these are all things that we can do to not necessarily reverse time, but to reverse dysfunction. That if we don't optimize or pay attention or even aware of these systems of our body, that it's something that isn't. I see, Maurice, you're having trouble hearing. Is it your volume? Are other people having trouble hearing? Can you hear me okay? Can I get a thumbs up? I see a couple thumbs up. It might be your volume, Maurice. Uh-oh. Uh, uh, so again, we're not reversing time, we're reversing dysfunction. And that's what we're going to want to talk about. One of the things we're going to talk about today is the myths as well. There's 6 main myths, and if you're taking notes, you might want to write these down. I'll send you my AI note taker notes from the presentation. But what are some of the myths about age reversal? So, number one is looking younger means you are younger. This is the greatest tool that people use for age reversal is that how do I look in the mirror? And well, yes, that's important. And we see a lot of people doing a lot of different things for age reversal in the mirror that some work out better than others. Some start looking a little bit like what's happening, and aesthetics is a huge industry. And yes, it's great to look good, but even better than looking good is feeling good. And having both of looking good and feeling good simultaneously is the best of inner and outer worlds. And so myth number one is looking younger means you are younger. That is a myth. Myth number two that a pill reverses aging. There's not a single pill that will reverse your aging. Now, there are different types of supplements we'll get into about what you can do to help support your organ systems, tissues, and what's happening in your body. But myth number two is there is not a pill that reverses aging with parentheses yet. I like to, in fact, let's just do a little thought experiment on this one, on myth number two. Imagine that longevity is dead. Not because we failed, but because David Sinclair or others succeeded in developing a pill that for $100 you could take and reverse your biological age to any age. The first question would be, would you take it? Would you take a pill that would reverse your age to any age? And it only cost $100. So you wouldn't have to take it every year, maybe just once every 10 years to reverse back to what age. But here's the next question. Would you want to be 25? 15 might be too young. 35? 45? 55? What was the best decade of your life? This thought experiment might be set in the year 2040. It might be set in the year 2035. It might be set in the year 2030. It might even be set as soon as 2028, according to what's happening. They've already started testing this pill or this process inside of the eye because the eye is a closed system within the body. Human trials of what they have developed are underway as we speak. So myth number three, and this is an important one for the topic today, stem cells alone reverse aging. Stem cells don't replace healthy living. They amplify it. So this is something that a lot of people haven't heard much about stem cells. They've heard lots of things about the word, but what are they really? And we'll talk a little bit more about this today, about where they come from and how to make sure that if you do use stem cells, that you have the best quality. But stem cells don't reverse aging in and of themselves. And they do amplify what's happening in your body. And so if you're doing the foundational practices of health, they can certainly support that. Myth number four, supplements fix poor lifestyle. How many of you have heard that all you need to do is take some supplements? Well, there's not just one thing. And we'll be talking about the pillars of health and especially the foundational pillars of health of all the things that we need to be doing on a daily basis to maintain our health and vitality. One of the things that I like to introduce is new words because we don't have the vocabulary to talk about what it means to truly be healthy. We have words that support our sick care system. And so we need new words to describe the concepts and ideas of what it truly means to be healthy. And one of the things that I'd like to introduce a new word called day span. We have lifespan, we have health span. What's a day span? A day span I believe is the type of true marker of what a healthy person orients to. Did I do what I need to do today? Because nobody can exercise yesterday. Everyone says they're going to exercise tomorrow or start the new program for the New Year's resolution. But the only thing that matters is what do you do today? How did you move your body today? How did you sleep today? How did you hydrate today? And these are even the dash on our tombstone of what we currently look at as a lifespan from the day you're born to the day you die. Nobody lives that in one day. They live that over the course of a lifetime. But from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep, a day span is a better metric for how you manage your health and your biology. No one has lived a week, a month, or even a year at a time. We only life comes at us one day at a time, and this is where our choices impact us the most. Myth number five: if I feel good, I'm healthy. How many of you said I feel fine? No, my brother felt fine. I felt fine. My biomarkers were identical to his when I was 2 years younger than him, following in his tracks. However, I did not know how good healthy really feels. We're too attached to being ourselves to know how we're truly feeling when we're feeling miserable. But one of the things that's beautiful about the body is when you're in pain and then you do something for your pain to go away, how quickly we forget what pain felt like. That's a beautiful gift, but it's also a terrible motivator to keep us doing the things that we did to feel good in the first place. One of the things that in our biology, symptoms often occur later than we actually start feeling or experiencing the first onset of conditions that could be uh, chronic conditions, lifetime conditions, or even fatal conditions. And to know what's happening at a biocellular level sooner gives you the advantage to do something about it sooner before you have signs and symptoms. The number one sign or symptom for people with heart disease is usually death. That's their first sign or symptom for 40% of the people. They're working on that with new detection, earlier detection, to be able to have it be that people have more time to do something about it. And that's one of the things why I do these presentations is to share this message of let my wake up call be your wake up call. If you haven't had a wake up call yet to be here, if you want to know the healthiest people in any room, you can ask one question. How many of you have survived your a cardiovascular event, a cancer diagnosis, some other wake up call that said, this is a game changer? Yeah, I see the hands raised. This is a game changer. I'm not going to live like this. This life is a gift. This life is fragile. I'm still lucky to be here. I'm taking my health much more serious than I ever have. And so myth number five is if I feel good, I am healthy. Maybe, but it's really good to know what the dials and dashboard of your biology looks like. How many of you seen inside of a cockpit before of an airplane and all the dials and levers and buttons, or seen inside of the space shuttle capsule? Our biology is equally as complicated, if not even more so. There are so many dials and markers and tests, but which ones actually matter? I often give the example between visual flight rules and instrument flight rules. When you're flying an airplane, you can learn to fly by looking out the window. You can only go so high and on fair weather days because if clouds move in, you don't know how to fly. And most people are going through life with visual flight rules or visual anatomy rules looking at the mirror and saying, well, I look healthy, I feel good, I must be healthy. But if they had the tools and access to the tests and the instrument panel of their biology, where they could actually see what's going on at a cellular level, they'd have so much better information to make decisions from earlier in life when things are easier to slow, stop, reverse, and prevent. And the sixth and final myth that we'll cover, and this is a big one. My doctor checks everything. So, and he says I'm good. My annual physical says I'm in, I'm okay. You know, our medical system in Western medicine, I could go a long time on this. I'm just going to say one thing. It's not designed to get you healthy or to help you to be the best version of yourself. It's designed to diagnose problems and treat symptoms. And it's most profitable when those symptoms are treated for the rest of your life. It's not looking at root causes. The medical system looks at a diagnosis, and you first get an HX, your health history. They give you a DX, a diagnosis, which then results in an RX, which is a prescription, or a TX, a treatment. So an HX plus DX equals RX slash TX. And that's the math. I'd like to change that equation and add in a PX. So what is the preventative method to prevent any of the signs or symptoms from emerging, because we're living in harmony with our biology. So what actually works? Let's get into this about what actually works for being healthy. And there's 6 pillars I'm going to cover here for the pillars of health. The first one that is to start off with measuring your health. What's the most used instrument for measuring health? We already talked about it, the mirror. People look in the mirror, not too bad. I feel fine. Yeah. They do a self-assessment that way. What's the second most commonly used instrument? Anyone want to guess?
Thermometer.
Here, thermometer. It's close.
Stethoscope.
Stethoscope.
Scale.
The bathroom scale. Yes. The bathroom scale is the second most common instrument used for, well, how am I doing? Looking down and seeing if you can see the scale, you're in better shape than those who can't. But to thank you, Ashley, for putting in the formula. Um, what are some of the other ways you can measure your health that are more accurate? So yes, you can get your annual physicals and hold up the 15 lab markers that your doctor gives you and say, that's good. There's my blood pressure, my height, weight, and they say I'm fine. That's if you even go to your annual physical. Some other measurement you can add in is your biological age. There are several different ways to determine your biological age. My bathroom scale gives me my biological age. That's not my biological age. Yes, it is. It's a measurement of my weight to what other things that the app has about me that gives a calculated biological age, but it's not a biological age at a cellular level. That's looking at your epigenetics that we'll talk about in a minute. Also, additional blood markers. What are the most important blood markers that you can be looking at? There's a PhenoAge that just came out from the University of Washington. I'll be sharing the link with on what your biological age is based on 9 blood biomarkers. It's pretty exciting. There's also your body composition. VO2 max is another great biomarker for longevity or measurement. Grip strength. How many of you know your grip strength? We have a grip strength tool that we have at Peak Wellbeing when we do our peak health span assessment of people to find out what their grip strength is, along with VO2 max, DEXA, body composition. We do a full panel of blood markers. We also look at how about your sleep scores? How are you sleeping? How many hours a night are you sleeping? One of the things that I wear an Oura ring, and I'll look at my phone first thing in the morning to see how I'm sleeping. This is a good biohacking device of putting on a wearable that gives you data about yourself. There's different Whoop straps, Whom straps. Um, Many different devices for measuring different biomarkers. We can get way overboard. How many have heard of Brian Johnson that spends $2 million a year measuring and detailing every aspect of his longevity protocol? What he's doing is very different than what anyone else is doing, but also it's also providing a lot of open data and science for the rest of us to understand how our biology works. The human body is so amazing. There's more that we don't know about our biology than we do, and the interrelated systems throughout the body. But there's so much you can learn about how this gift, each of us was given one assignment at birth to take care of your human. If you want to enjoy life, take care of your human. And many of us haven't even read the manual because there isn't one. And the things are changing. It's confusing. Just as it takes 1,500 hours of flight time to become a commercial pilot, if you're in your 40s or higher, you've logged over 350,000 hours in your body. How are you doing with the controls? Have that been looking at the out the window at the mirror using visual anatomy rules, or have you learned instrument anatomy rules of how to better detect and understand what's happening? And the last important measurement of pillar one is your glucose level, which indicates your insulin resistance and knowing your uh, inflammation markers and it's such an important marker for overall metabolic health. Pillar number two has to do with what you eat, the food you eat, and where it came from. Now, I'm not talking about dieting. What I'm talking about is what you consistently become because we are what we eat, and we are what we ate. So if you eat animals, products, proteins from meat, make sure you get the best sources. If you with the fruits and vegetables, make sure you're eating organic. There's so much in industrial farming, pesticides and other chemicals that are put into the food system that are meant to preserve the food, but they also preserve you. Think of it as this, that you're actually mummifying your body for greater shelf life, especially if you eat processed foods that have, you know, I don't think there's an expiration date on a Twinkie. It has so much processed chemical and it's made of things that will last forever. Well, that's great, but that's not helpful for longevity if you start to mummify yourself prior to your embalmment at the end of life. So think of processed foods and of eliminating those entirely. And think of this. I'd like to, as far as what type of food to eat, my suggestion is there's so much information and contradictory information. What do you feel best in your body eating? What do your biomarkers report best back to you is the best way for you to be eating? One of the things that I like to do is I follow a whole food plant-based lifestyle. It's not a diet. I call it a lifestyle. And I follow what I call the rainbow diet of eating the rainbow of as many different colors that of the I call it the sunlight diet actually, and to eat the rainbow. In sunlight, we know from if you put it through a prism, there's a full rainbow of colors, and so are there a full rainbow of fruits and vegetables. Eat as many different colors of fruits and vegetables as possible to get as much sunlight. All of the energy that we have on this planet originated from the sun. Think of fruits and vegetables as photovoltaic batteries that have absorbed photons from the sun, and the more photons that you can ingest, the more energy you'll have in your body. Make sure you get good fiber. One of the things that I do, I each night drink 2 tablespoons of psyllium husk for increased fiber, and that is good for uh, bowel movements and getting all the fiber. You get 6 grams of the 7 grams of fiber in one slug of. It's not the easiest to go get down until you get used to it, but psyllium husk is a great way to increase your fiber. Pillar number three is a favorite of mine is movement. And movement is something different than exercise. Exercise is something you have to schedule. Movement is what you do on a daily basis that you enjoy doing. How do you enjoy moving your body? How often are you moving? They say sitting is the new smoking. Living a sedentary lifestyle is uh, the way that we our bodies were meant to move. And one of the things that I like to do a lot is go walking. I know George likes to go walking. George, how many miles a day do you do?
Well, this year is my second record. I'm at 16,000 steps, which is a little bit over 7 miles, but average year is 10 to 12,000 steps, which is about almost six. But I got a good year going this year.
When you go walking, do you do any do any rucking or wear a weight vest or carry anything with you
I carry a backpack and 30 extra pounds.
in your backpack?
No, on my body.
Yeah. Oh, I got you. I keep it on the inside where it's safe. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Well, you've
I
lost a
have
lot of weight.
I have lost 70 in the last 18 months.
Well, that's great. Congratulations. So one of the things that why I ask is that when and Andrew Huberman and others have talked about when you carry a an offset weight. I've gone. I have both a ruck vest as well as a kettlebell that I take walking with me. And when you have to, as humans, we evolved carrying things. And when you switch hands and you're in with something as a weight, it's very good for your body to have that offset weight and in your movement. But find out how you like to move your body, something that you enjoy doing, whether it's yoga, tai chi, tennis, anything that gets you outside moving is there's so many benefits for we're meant to move. And in fact, there's an acronym I'll share later, but I'll share it now as well. It, MOVE stands for measure, optimize, verify, and enjoy. Is how I like to think of the word move. Measure your movement. How many steps did you take? How long were you moving? What impact is it having? Optimize your body and verify how is it changing over time? How am I improving? And enjoy those changes. The fourth pillar is recovery. So important to recover. That's when our bodies actually restore, regenerate, repair, to get good sleep, to make sure that your nervous system is down regulated. So much of life we're always on and hyper vigilant with all the stress and watching the news that of all the bad news. We don't get good news. When was the last time there was good news that was reported? All the news is meant to cause you to keep watching and to only be there for the if it bleeds, it leads headlines that's always breaking news. Everything's breaking. What if we had the fixing news? The here's what good's happening in the world today, and we reoriented our whole global nervous system. Like there's so much good that's happening. This world keeps getting better and better. And how great would it be if we truly were working together collectively for a world that works for all? The fifth pillar, and this is my favorite and maybe even the most important, is connection. How much love and connection do you have in your life? How connected are you to your purpose in life? Have you found your ikigai? It's a Japanese word for your soul's purpose for being. How are your relationships? Are there people that you could do some repairing with that you may have had a falling out with? One of the talks I gave last month, the gentleman came up to me afterwards and he said, I haven't spoken to my brother for 6 years, and your talk has inspired me to call him. I didn't suggest that in the talk, but that's the difference between longevity, thinking you're going to live forever, and presentgevity of living in the moment, living now, and stop thinking that you're going to live forever and do what's important now to live your life in one day. What if this was your last day and the only day? And I texted him afterwards. I said it really impacted me that I would give anything to be able to talk to my brother who I lost 6 years ago. And I don't care what it is that you've had a falling out about. It's not worth whatever you're doing to not give him a call. And we all have those people in our lives that we could call, that we could build bridges. And if we just do it locally, in each of us will be building threads across the world. And the sixth pillar for health is modern regenerative medicine. As I mentioned earlier, never before in the history of mankind has there been an opportunity and a time to take advantage of some of the tools and technologies, from peptides to hormone replacement to exosomes to stem cells, that are creating new outcomes in biological, new breakthroughs in regenerative medicine, biological medicine, that regenerate the body by giving it the support that it needs to naturally heal itself. I'll just say one word here about stem cells. The stem cells that we use are the highest quality of stem cells we've found in 6 years. And there's not a lot of regulation in the stem cell space. However, and there's a lot of differences between stem cells. And I'll talk about some of the questions that you should be asking if you're considering stem cell therapy. But stem cells come from healthy live births, and they come from umbilical cord and placenta tissue that is taken to the lab, processed, and millions of cells. There's 40 trillion cells in the human body of mesenchymal stem cells are made available that were used to create a human being. These were the cells that a mother was generating in her body to create a new baby. And they've, through the miracle of science, been able to isolate and use these cells to be able to put them into other people, into joints for joint pain, to grow new cartilage tissues, and also through IVs for more of a longevity purpose, for letting the body use these cells wherever they go in the circulatory system to decrease inflammation, to increase whatever repair is needed. We have stem cells naturally. We develop what's called stem cell fatigue. Our stem cells also are aging. When you have brand new newborn stem cells that are available in your body that we once were, in my case, 56 years ago, then they perform differently than the stem cells that we have, as well as at a higher quantity and concentration. So what excites me most about where we're at is that we're the first generation that can actually measure aging and has tools that, as well as to make a difference in that pace of aging, as well as our overall biological age scores. And I'll be sharing mine with you in just a minute. But I'd like to just talk a little bit about epigenetics and the difference between genetics and epigenetics. Genetics is something that we're all born with. We've got our genes from mom and dad. We got 23 chromosomes from mom, 23 chromosomes from dad to make our 46. If we had 47, we'd have Down syndrome. And most likely won't be on this call today. My brother left behind a daughter with Down. And epigenetics, though, are a very important component of our gene expression of which genes are turned on. One of the things that my cardiologist said to me after reviewing my completely clear CTA, which is a computed tomography angiogram of my heart, that I have no plaque, no stenosis, no calcium buildup in my heart. I said, "How does that square with my brother being dead?" He said, "Genetics is just a word, it's not a sentence." And the way that we turn a genetic sentence into a word is by looking at our epigenetics. And one of the things that we do at Peak Wellbeing is we have the True Age True Health test. This is an epigenetic test that's done with a simple finger stick of blood that you squish out the blood out onto a blotter. The blotter goes to a lab. It takes 4 to 6 weeks to process the results. It's that sophisticated through different processing um, methodologies that they have that gives you two biological ages, as it gives you a omic M age as well as a symphony age. It gives you the age of 11 separate organs and systems. You know, I first took this test a year ago when I was 55. My biological age came back 58.5, 3.5 years older than my chronological age. I thought I was fine. I thought I was healthy. I thought I was doing good. I hadn't been doing everything I knew I should be doing, and I knew I could do better. That was very motivating for me to get my biological age below my chronological age. 6 months later, I took the test again, and I was now 55 and a half, and I came back at 56. So in 6 months, I went 6 months older chronologically, but reversed my biological age by 2.5 years. However, in that same 6 month period of time, my heart age had increased more than I had wanted it to, because I don't want it increasing at all. It went up 5 years, which was very concerning to me. I also implemented some lifestyle changes, as well as I did a course of stem cells to affect that outcome. I have refocused my attention on my cardiovascular health, and really being focused on some of the things that I've read around from Dean Ornish's book Undo It, T. Campbell's book, The China Study, Caldwell Esselstyn, Stop, Prevent, Reverse Heart Disease. All talk about following a whole food plant-based diet. Dean Ornish's program talks about eat well, following a whole food plant-based diet, or lifestyle, as I like to call it. I don't like to say vegan because Oreos technically are vegan. Oreos are not healthy, they're just sugar. And but following a whole food plant-based lifestyle, to move more, stress less, love more, and to sleep better. And some of the things that I implemented, as well as doing another course of stem cells, when I took the test again, just uh, in May, I'm happy to report my biological age is now younger than my chronological age. I'm now 56, but my biological age is still 55 or back down to 55. And so technically, I have reversed my biological age, and my pace of aging is also one of the markers that this test shows of how fast you're aging compared to the chronological clock. And it has been something that is very motivating for me. It's very informational, informative to what to focus on. For me, heart disease has been my greatest threat, a risk factor, opportunity is what I like to call it, to improve my health around. Other people have different genes and epigenetic, which genes are being expressed and turned on. Our lifestyle, our environment, our even our thinking impacts our epigenetics. And certainly some of the biological epi or stem cell products that are available also affect our epigenetics. Personalized medicine has never been uh, more exciting. We can get tests done to test things that we don't even need to know, and I don't recommend doing that. Knowing which test and finding the right uh, program, the right company, the right team to be on your team for which biomarkers you should be looking at is critical to have a personalized plan put together because there's only one you. You are unique. You are the only version of you, and your challenges, your health is uniquely yours. Even in my own family, even if you are an identical twin, you have different health challenges or opportunities than your twin would have. And so, really learning to be the CEO of your own health, the pilot of your own body and anatomy, is what each of us has the opportunity to do. And with personalized medicine, one of the things that we do is we can put together with our physicians for you a very personalized plan of the things that will make the biggest difference, move the needle for you. So, how many of you have had your cholesterol tested before? Raise your hand if you have had, your cholesterol score, or put in the chat, uh, yes, for, your cholesterol. Seeing thumbs up, hands raised. This is a great biomarker. It's one of the most widely known, uh, least accurate predictor of cardiovascular health. And it's something that most people know. It's very complex when you start looking at different cardiovascular risk factors around cholesterol. You have apolipoprotein A, you have ApoB, you have homocysteine levels and other markers that you should also be looking at to look at your full profile particle size, the ratio of HDL to LDL. And if that's not a risk factor for you, that's wonderful. you know, what are your particular challenges and opportunities? For some people, it's liver function. Other people, it's perhaps kidney. Some people have a family history of cancer. These are all things that you can learn about and even be screened for years before any signs or symptoms ever appear. So, how many of you know? We'll just say everybody knows how old they are. How many of you know the age of your heart or the age of your lungs or the age of your immune system? How many of you would like to and to have this information? And I say this because on the surface, everyone says, yes, I'd like to know. But here's the reality that we found out is that not everybody really wants to know because it can be scary. there's an experiment in quantum mechanics called Schrodinger's cat, where looking inside of the box, there's a cat with a radioactive particle, and there's a 50-50 chance that the cat is either alive or dead. And that by opening it up, the box, the observer's expectation determines whether the cat is alive or dead. It's a poor example. I apologize for this, but it's that type of it's the best example I've come up with for if you look in this box, what are you going to find? You know, are you younger or are you older? Is what you've been doing working or is it not working? And that can be scary. Even the doctors that we've worked with have been hesitant to take this test or to say, well, I would like to do this, this, and this first before I take the test. I want to get healthier because I don't want a bad score. This test is looking at a longitudinal set of data that has been happening over several months and even several years. And so it's a the best way to get this information is to take the test and then to implement the suggestions. There's specific suggestions, what type of supplements, what type of movement, lifestyle changes, and other things that can help you to improve your overall health and well-being. I see a question from George. How do we measure the life of our lungs and its capacity? Not only does it give you a epigenetic methylation score for your lungs age and health, it also looks at your overall smoke risk for smoking or other pollutants that you've encountered in your lifetime, whether you're low, medium, or high risk for lung function. And it's amazing how well it can predict environmental factors of if you've been exposed to asbestos, a secondhand smoke, or been a smoker in your lifetime. One of the things that everyone's heard is the body keeps score. They haven't heard the corollary is the body doesn't hold grudges. That no matter what you've been doing to your body through let's say a rough and tumble lifestyle, if you've been smoking or other things that aren't healthy for you, as soon as you stop, your body immediately starts regenerating, repairing, restoring you back to where you want to be, to the healthiest version of you. That's the innate programming of the body. And yes, I do know that there are conditions that the body can get that we don't fully understand. One of the things that I've worked with, the people I've worked with in the past, been people with the Parkinson's diagnosis. We don't fully understand what's going on with why the body develops this. They're closing in on more of the root causes around misfolding of alpha-synuclein proteins in the substantia nigra of the brain. But the body is seeking wholeness, and the body wants to be whole. And the way that I'll show you my results in just a minute for the lung scores. Tara has a question. What about measuring personal overall life expectancy? So there are AI tools and other tests, and on this test they used to give you not only a health span score of what your biological age is, but they can actually predict your actual lifespan number. But they stopped doing that because it's freaked people out, number one. And there's so many environmental factors and lifestyle factors and things that you can do to influence it that one of the things that we know is that we're very susceptible to believe what the white coats tell us. And so if you see on a result that you're going to live till this age, that gets programmed into your subconscious mind and as well as into your conscious mind, and it can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. So it's good to know your biological age, and what you're as a measurement, as an opportunity for improving, as mine was higher than it by chronological age, and to be bringing that down. They actually have a aging Olympics. It's a biological pace of aging Olympiad that after you've had three of these tests, that you can enter the Olympics. And Brian Johnson goes back and forth with one other woman that is aging at like 50% of a half a year for every calendar year that we're living. And what about, okay, and Rita, all right. And one of the things that I'd like to shift into here is about what I call doing the obvious, which isn't always so obvious. And yeah, everyone wants this secret to longevity, the fountain of youth. The and unfortunately, the secret is there isn't one. That the anti-aging industry loves complexity, but biology loves consistency. So if there's one secret to longevity, to age reversal, to being the best version of you, is going back to day span and being consistent each day in the way that you're living your life with the the lifestyle habits of that support your biology that give you the best life possible. So here are the six non-negotiables for what I call doing the obvious. And the first one is sleep. This is the second most, I said it's the first one, but it's the second most impactful thing we can do for improving our health and our longevity and well-being. Sleep has so many benefits. There's many things that we don't even know about sleep. But one of the things they just learned about in 2012 is the glymphatic system. How many of you, show of hands or a raising of your virtual hand, have heard of the glymphatic system and what it does? The glymphatic system is the metabolic waste from our brain produces during the day from thinking, making decisions, that it clears out during the night. There are so many people who don't sleep well. It's a $600 billion industry of people trying to find support to sleep well. People are going through life what I call mentally constipated. They literally have waste in their brains from the thoughts they thought yesterday and the day before that they didn't have good sleep, good restorative sleep to remove the waste product from their brains. And sleep is so important for doing that, as well as so many other functions of regenerating, restoring, and revitalizing the body.
Hey,
Tissue repair.
Michael, Tara
Oh, Tara, yes.
has a
Yes.
question.
So just real quick on the topic of the lymphatic system, I'm a swimmer, and all of a sudden I've started seeing people showing up at the pool with these really deep cup-shaped bruises on their back, and they're getting what's called cupping therapy for lymphatic system drainage. It just, I don't know, it strikes me as like brutal because they have these bruises, and I guess not maybe right now, but at some point, any remarks about that kind of intervention seems to be on the increase, and it doesn't look good.
Well, depends. You know who made that famous was Michael Phelps during the Olympics as the all-time world record holder of gold medals. But the lymphatic system and the glymphatic system are very different systems. And cupping does stimulate the lymphatic system and helps with muscle recovery, but it's a very different system than the glymphatic system that it has to do with the cerebral spinal fluid.
Is
Does that
that
have?
what you were talking about? Glim versus limb?
Yes,
Oh,
GLYM, GLYM.
okay. I'm sorry, I misheard, and no, I'm not familiar.
Well, now you are. So, and George just said, are there any clinically verified treatments that increase the deep sleep cycle or lengthens the sleep cycle? So, first of all, it's good that if you know your cycle, that means you're wearing some sort of device that measures what stage of sleep you're in. The Oura Ring is one that I wear that you can uh, sleep with. Some people, your Apple Watch will measure it, but people don't. Some people don't like wearing a watch. There's Whoop straps, there's Hoom straps, other things to measure deep sleep. You need about an hour on average for deep sleep. There's a practice that I developed that actually came to me in a dream about improving my sleep. I call it radical gratitude deep sleep. And it's been a game changer for me. And one of the things that um, I had grown up in a religious household where we said our prayers at night. I had stopped praying as I got older, and I missed it. And the dream that came to me is to say my gratitudes before going to sleep. And gratitude is such an important practice. And George, you actually introduced me to a very powerful gratitude practice of our gratitude calls that we did a couple of years back, saying our gratitudes out loud to people. It is so powerful, and I believe that, some of it came from that too. But I actually kneel down at the side of my bed in a very humbling somatic body position and speak out loud my gratitudes, what I was grateful for the day. And by doing this, I'm eavesdropping on myself, listening to what I'm saying, feeling the gratitude in my heart, rewiring the default mode network of the brain, putting myself in a more relaxed parasympathetic state to then go to sleep in. Some other things that you can do too are practicing box breathing, or it's actually a practice that's done by in the military where you do 4 breaths in, hold for 4 breaths, 8 breaths out. And you can hold at the bottom for 4 breaths, but if you have a double exhalation time compared to the inhalation time, that activates the parasympathetic system, helps you fall asleep faster and to stay asleep because you're going to sleep in a parasympathetic state. I think it's good if you say your prayers, but one of the things that prayers can do to you before going to sleep is put you in a state of anxiety if you're thinking about all the people that you love and you're asking for help for. I'd say maybe do that a little before going to sleep, maybe at dinner time. And when you say your gratitudes or speak your gratitudes at night, it puts you in a different state. And that state you carry off to sleep is very powerful. And science doesn't even know where we go during deep sleep. There's faith traditions that say the soul actually leaves the body during deep sleep. And we go and get instructions from ancestors, teachers, guides. There's a Jewish prayer called Moda Ani. That the first thing you do in the morning when you wake up is hand on your chest and say, "Thank you for restoring my soul. And thank you for entrusting me with one more day." And so you wake up with gratitude as well. And from that standpoint, you end your day with gratitude, you begin your day with gratitude. And you're rewiring your brain to be looking for what to be grateful for during the day. And gratitude is one of the greatest sources of happiness and love. The greatest thing that we can do well, we talked about sleep, the radical gratitude deep sleep process. The second non-negotiable is how you eat. Eat like your cells matter. Adopt an attitude of you are a very special, even holy being. There's different faith traditions that have food restrictions of what people can and cannot eat. There's here in Utah, the predominant faith or religions, the LDS faith, where they have prohibitions about certain things they can and cannot eat and drink, called the word of wisdom. In the Muslim faith, there's certain foods that are halal or holy. In the Jewish faith, there are certain foods that are kosher. Adopt a perspective of whatever you eat is going to become you. This is your temple. This is the vehicle that you're experiencing life through. What's worthy of entering you as what will become you? And only look for the best sources of food. Now, not everybody can afford the best sources of food, the highest quality, high quality chocolate. Absolutely, dark chocolate is cardioprotective. Make sure that you're having the good dark chocolate for that. Um, but to really see yourself as that, almost if you want as a video game in life, that there are serious uh, industries and agents that are looking to poison you, to get you dependent upon the medical system, so that you are then fuel for that a cog in that system of being treated for a disease that you didn't need to come down with for the rest of your life. And to make sure you hydrate. Your cells need water. Your cells need hydration. And to make sure you get healthy fats. Stay away from the seed oils, and to use healthy oils like olive oil and avocado in your diet. And to eat enough, not constantly. And I see red wine and ghee. Red wine is one of those things that the data has been a little bit massaged, shall we say, that the resveratrol in red wine you would need to drink so much red wine that you would no longer be in the healthy factor for getting the health benefits from red wine. There's no healthy amount of alcohol, and there's no health benefits known for alcohol. I've eliminated alcohol from my lifestyle, um, besides those special occasions. And one of the things too, when you're making a choice between going out with friends for a glass of wine or getting a beer and having that social interaction versus social isolation, it's much healthier for you to go out and have a glass of wine than to sit at home and be healthy. The third non-negotiable is to move every day and to incorporate movement that you like, that you enjoy doing, especially getting out in nature. In Japan, they have a concept of forest bathing, that the forest actually emits scents and molecules that are beneficial, that reduce stress in the human body, reduce inflammation. And it's so good for us. We are nature. If you look deeply at yourself, you are what you ate. You came from this planet. We are ingested food. We are organic matter that has consciously wonders, do I matter? And this is we're not on the earth, we're of the earth. And to feel that relationship of with the earth and to spend time with nature. I love this line that exercise is something you schedule, movement is something you become. And so find that thing that you enjoy to do and move. The non-negotiable is about building muscle. And muscle is a great tool for reducing glucose. And after a meal, if you haven't ever worn a CGM monitor to see how your glucose goes up and down, I recommend you do that for 30 days so that you can learn from that. But it's something that after a meal, if you go for a 10-minute walk, your glucose, instead of spiking, comes down. If you do air squats, just going up and down for 10, 20 air squats after a meal, you activate the biggest muscles in the body and your glucose spike will go down. It's something important for functional independence to be able to maintain movement and maintain flexibility. How many people have seen a parent or grandparent or loved one or neighbor that is not moving the way they used to? And see, actually, what glucose monitor do you suggest for home monitoring? There's a number of different ones. There's the Libre 3 that I've used. There's also Stella. If you have an Aura ring, you can order them uh, through the Aura app. You can also get you used to have to get a prescription. There's a lot of the companies now that aren't requiring a prescription to get one, but it's super, Casey Means, who wrote Good Energy, talked about her goal is to have all high school seniors wear a glucose monitor for a month before they graduate high school, just so they have better information about their biology, about what they eat, how they sleep, how they stress affects their glucose scores. The fifth non-negotiable is inflammation. And inflammation, the biggest drivers of inflammation, number one is stress, number two is sugar, and number three is smoking, poor sleep, sedentary lifestyle, and visceral fat. I see Ashley's comment, yeah, awesome to support young adults develop a lifestyle for adulthood. When I made some big lifestyle changes 6 years ago and I started helping other people, I said, I wonder what age people should start getting interested in their health. I'm 50 now. Maybe people in their 40s should start this. Well, maybe 30. And my 19-year-old son at the time said, what if 19-year-olds got started like this? The sooner we start investing in our health, the greater the returns are in our biological health investment accounts, and we can have a whole life of of freedom of mobility, freedom of morbidity, of disease, and to be the best versions of ourselves. So calming the fire. Is your body spending more time repairing or defending? When our systems are on fire, that we're we're repairing our inflammation that we have in our body versus defending what immunological attacks we might be experiencing. There's only so much energy the body has, and so how it deploys those resources is important. Ashley just put in the chat about health investment accounts. In the book I wrote on Get Wealthy, combining health and wealth, because health is wealth, and without your health, your wealth becomes worth less until ultimately becomes worthless. And one of the concepts I introduce in Get Wealthy is establishing a health investment account that each of us should be setting aside funds each year for investing in our health. Some people have what's called a health savings account that they can set aside funds tax-free for when they get sick. But what funds are you setting aside and at what level for making sure you never need to use your health savings or insurance account, insurance funds? And the last non-negotiable is to measure your progress. And this is how you harmonize your entire biology. Know how these interlate. None of your systems, one of the problems with Western medicine is that all of these specialists have become so specialized that we don't have a holistic view of the body. There are holistic functional healthcare practitioners that try to hold that use a different approach than Western medicine. But even ear, nose, and throat the ENT doctors that used to be one specialty have diversified into just one or two of those specialties. as the owner of you, you need to understand, each of us needs to understand the interrelatedness of how our blood pressure affects other systems, how our waist circumference impacts other systems, how our body composition, how our HbA1c level impacts our body, how our ApoB, VO2 max, or grip strength, and the biological age test helps bring that whole picture together, looking at your overall lifespan age, your health span age, your each of your separate organs ages, and to really give you that complete picture. It's not the only screening tool, but it's the most comprehensive one that I've found, which has been very motivating for me for all the testing that I've done. And I've done a lot of testing at some of the best longevity clinics in the country, in the US. So there's a hierarchy of age reversal. That this is the last point I want to make, and I'll show you some screen shots of the lab results that I've done, and so that you can see those too. The first thing for reversing your biological age is stop digging yourself a deeper hole. If you're smoking, quit smoking. If you're drinking alcohol, make sure it's moderate to no alcohol use. How are you sleeping? Make sure you're sleeping. Do the things that you stop doing the things that are negatively impacting your epigenetic health and your biological health. Number two is to build health, to build strength, build cardio, build stress management, or life, having pattern interrupts for regulating your nervous system and down regulating your nervous system. The number one thing any of us can do is to improve our relationships, have more love and connection, have a community we belong to. One of the things that you hear about is we're living in an epidemic of loneliness, that people no longer are going to third places. Third places, third spaces are defined as not home, not work, that churches have emptied out, that bowling alleys, civic clubs, places where people used to congregate and get together with people that were different than them, that would share difference of opinions, would tell stories and be friends. And so finding that third space, that third place for you to feel a part of, in the blue zones where people have lived longer than other areas, there's 5 on the planet. There's Sardinia, Italy. There's Icaria, Greece, Loma Linda, California, Costa Rica, and Okinawa, Japan. Everybody there has a very strong sense of belonging to their community. And so finding that community for you for each of us is important. The third level of the hierarchy is to optimize, to know what you've measured and how to optimize it. What are the best ways to improve whatever biomarker you've been looking at? And then the fourth level is to adopt regenerative practices, looking at stem cells, exosomes, or other emerging therapies that can accelerate your health and well-being. So one final thought, and then I'll open up the discussion and show some slides about my test results and any questions that people have. Is this, that age reversal isn't about finding the next miracle. It's about consistently doing the obvious things that modern life has made easy to forget. One of the things that has impacted the health in America and unfortunately has been exported around the world is fast food. Cheap, inexpensive, convenient fast food that's full of all sorts of chemicals and preservatives and other things that make it taste amazing, last a long time, and addict you to it. And I understand there's the social dynamics of health. One of the greatest indicators of poor health would be if someone is eating off of a dollar value menu at a fast food place because that's what they can afford. And it's unfortunately going to have negative effects on their health. And so being fortunate enough to be able to um, access good food, healthy food is a very real component to health. And here's the one thing that I hope you remember today, and it's this that your age is not your destiny. Your biology is not fixed. Every meal, every walk, every night of sleep, every workout, every choice is a vote for the person you're becoming. And to make these choices consciously, how you spend your time, how you spend your days, because that is ultimately what your life is about. And so I'm going to share my screen now and answer any questions that you have. Before we do that, are there any questions that people have already that like to talk about?
Tara had asked a question earlier about if you have a cardiologist, what should you ask him for that? Yeah, yes, cardio measures.
Cardio measures. That's a great question. I can tell you that when I started off trying to figure out what my heart health was after losing my brother, I went and did all just the standard labs, went for a physical, and then read in the books and saw that what that my doctor did versus what the books were saying were totally different. And so I've put together a list of tests that I'm happy to share with you that I've done and what they're about. I'm not a physician, and however, I am the physician of my own health, and the my lead physician. Everything goes through me as far as what they recommend, and I need to understand it to know why it is. But yes, there are so many tests that are more important than just a cholesterol basic blood panel that they do with an annual physical. One of the gold standard tests that it took me about 5 years, I just had done last year is the CTA test, the computed tomography angiogram, where they do a CT scan of the heart with a radioactive dye to look at the actual uh, arteries of the heart. And that's what came out to be completely clean that I was blown away by. And CTA, VO2 max are great, as well as an EKG, a resting EKG, as well as a peak EKG is one of the tests that we do here in Utah at Peak Healthspan that isn't often done. The peak EKG is what is your electrocardiogram under this, or right after the stress of hitting your VO2 max, and it's PEAK, as in peak well-being, peak health span, peak EKG. And did I miss any other questions in the chat? Yes, that. All right.
So, Michael, I think we should see Brandon and show everybody he's not AI.
Oh yeah, there's the
Probably heard me.
Have him come
I've
in.
met a couple times. These, these are my bicep peaks. Just talking about peaks. I Michael gave me that advice about growing muscle, and I just went crazy with it. So feeling pretty healthy right now.
So
All right.
that's your business partner, right? Michael,
Gotta get
that's
back.
Brandon's your business partner in this, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, we together form Peak Stem Cells and Peak Wellbeing with Peak Health Span. And I'm going to switch cameras here.
So these guys, they live and breathe what they sell.
Well, thanks, Joel.
Here it is. There we go. All right, I'm going to pull a chair over and I'll be able to share my screen here. You know, that's one of the things too. Yes, that it's more than personal. Um, to and I didn't talk too much about this today about the concept of presentgevity. And more important than longevity is the idea of being present to the life you have. That no matter how long or short your life is, how deeply do you live your life? How present are you into this one life you're living? Because the leading cause of death from 1 to 44 is accidents. That doesn't go away after 44. That's always possible that something could happen to one of us. We don't know how long our life will be. There are, cancer is the leading cause of death from 45 to 64, and 65 on is heart disease, and that's the U.S. and worldwide. And more importantly, one of the things my brother taught me as well is that he lived deeply. He was a freestyle aerialist skier that threw backflips, and he was he didn't have the longest life, but he had a very fulfilling life, and we miss him deeply every day. I do, and especially his children. But and that goes back to yes, a heart is important to have pumping function to be able to beat and deliver that blood and oxygen, those nutrients, those minerals to every cell, organ, and tissue in the body. But the real function before that is to love and to have love and connection in our lives. That's what they were the first cells to start beating in our body when we were in utero. There's no the heart has 60 times more energy, bioelectrical energy than the brain. It's the powerhouse of the body. Well, let me bring up my um, share my screen here. Are there any other questions while I'm doing this?
Is there a question about
Maybe you'll touch on this, but how do you get the True Health, True Age test?
Yeah, thanks. The um, you can go to. I'll put the link in the chat. Here's the test normally is $850 to do this epigenetic test. On the website, we have it for sale for under 500. But if you'd like to, if you send me a text or a message, we can get you another $100 off for attending today. So it'd be $397 for doing the True Age True Health test.
which is literally our cost, which we just want to get people tested and so they can get educated about.
So this is how most people are going through life, flying blind, and this test is one that gives you the control panel for how to know which organs, which levers, which epigenetics are being expressed and turned on, and which ones are turned off, and how to best optimize your biology. And you'll see this here in the next slide about. So this was the first test that I did. You can see that this was collected on July 15th, 2025, and my age at the time was 55 years old. And my ohmic age was 58.5. My symphony age was 59. And I'll tell you the difference between that. But my pace of aging was slower than the calendar age. 1 to 1 is a score of 1 on the Dunedin pace of aging. Is that for every year on the calendar that you're aging, my biology is aging 0.95 according to this. So when I did the test 6 years later, excuse me, 6 months later, my ohmic age went to 56. My symphony age went to 60, which is about stayed the same, but my pace of aging went down a little bit. And this was on December 30th of 2025, so just over 6 months ago when I did this. My chronological age was 55.5 at the time. One of the things that I had done is I just went through the holidays of Thanksgiving and Christmas and all the parties and drinking, and I was not being as conscientious and aware and committed and dedicated to a whole food plant-based lifestyle as I had been. But I was very pleased about my ohmic M age decreasing 2.5 years in 6 months. When I took it again on May 20th, you can see that I decreased even further from 56 to 55.7, which at the time I was 55.9, putting me below my biological age, and for the first time, and very happy about that. And my symphony age also has been decreasing. Now, symphony age is more of a health span age than a lifespan. And that is an aggregate of these different 11 organ systems. When I first took this, every single one of my organs and ages, my blood, brain, inflammation, heart, hormone, immune, kidney, liver, metabolic, lung, and musculoskeletal, was older than my chronological age. I thought I was fine. I thought I was healthy and doing the right things. The test showed different. Said there's more of an opportunity to do better. That's good news. The sooner you know, because this was happening whether I looked or not. That cat was alive or dead, older or younger, whether I opened the box or took the test and found out or not.
And
One,
those were those related to it looks like they're going for organ function except for in the immune and hormone and metabolic. So how do you determine in the hormone, immune, and metabolic environments what those biomarkers are?
so it's a great question. It's the methylation of the data set that Harvard, Yale, Cornell, and Duke have been developing over their population study that includes over 150,000 people. One of the things that they're aware of is that people who do this test have an interest in being healthy, and so they have a skewed database. The 150,000 people are more affluent people interested in being healthy than the general population.
So they have interest, affluence, and resources.
Yes, and they have done, for the people that are expanding their current database, the original studies, they had funding that were more population based, but there is more of a skewing to that happening.
Yeah, well, that's a good skewing, right? Because what you're doing is you're surveilling, you're creating surveillance for the most positive outcomes versus a Western medicine world is still creating surveillance of your worst state of being. So we're very good at measuring how bad we are. We're not very good at measuring how good we are. And then how much more good can we create from that goodness?
That's so important what you said, especially on blood panel markers you get from your doctor. The reference range of what's okay is actually the average
East.
range of very unhealthy people, especially in America. The metabolic dysfunction disease, the size of people and the inflammation, and really it's the inflammation more than the size of that's the size is the the symptom of the inflammation in the bodies and the lack of digestive capacity and what's being consumed and so forth. But it is so important that the functional health ranges of where you want to be is much different and higher, more than what the reference range shows.
Yeah, there's like 11 known inflammation or inflammatory markers or mediators that are causing these challenges. And the interaction between them and what they actually mean to a certain specific area in the body or system in the body isn't well known yet. So we're on the forefront of really moving towards those levels. And the more I think patients and people out in the field that are receiving this care doesn't know, but the more that we ask, what do those mean? How do they work? And what is the metric that we're measuring for optimal organ function versus end organ function or organ death? Because
You bring up
we measure organ death instead of organ life.
right.
Yeah.
Very good point. And one of the things too that well, I'll stay on task here to get through
Okay,
these
sorry.
because
Thank you.
this was when I took the test the second time, and one of the things that was very concerning is that my heart age went from 58.7 to 63.9, and even though I had implemented more disciplined, focused lifestyle interventions, the greatest risk factor I had was going in the wrong direction. And I attribute this to some of that poor eating and drinking that I was doing during the holidays, and not moving as much as I should or like to. And so, um, you know, having this motivate me is what produced this result in May. So 5 months later, I was able to reduce my cardiovascular risk or heart age from 63.9 to 57.4. The Symphony organ ages is about a 3 month mark. It's a moving, dynamic, easier to change age than the ohmic age, which is more of a overall multi-systems integrated approach at the ohmic age level. The Symphony age, that 57.7 is faster to move. Um, and you can see how my different organs and systems are decreasing below my chronological age. I'm really happy about that immune age of going from 55.5 down to 51.5 in the course of a year. Having good immune function is super important for fighting off all sorts of diseases and conditions and infections in the body. But this is fun to look at and see what is happening on a organ by organ basis, and I'm very happy about being 55.7 when I'm 56 years old, and I'm looking forward to taking it again in 6 months and competing with myself. I'm not competing with anybody else. This is a game for one, an N of one experiment is what I like to call it. And I did do a course of stem cells at both the 6 month and in between both tests. One of the things that we offer at Peak Stem Cells is different IV infusions for longevity. That they've done studies up to 200 million mesenchymal stem cells in one IV. We recommend 100 million for people. 50 million is the lowest dose that you can start with. Some people, it's the dosing that there is not determined yet. Right now, they say 1 to 2 million stem cells per kilogram of weight is the ideal dosing for people, and that's quite a broad range of 1 to 2 million per kilogram. So most people fit right in that 100. 50 kilograms is well, 70 kilograms is between 70 to 150 million. So 100 million is a good starting dose. One of the stem cell providers, the stem cell provider we use has greater than 85% mesenchymal viability. And that means how many stem cells are alive when the stem cells are dethawed and injected into the body. And that's a very important question to ask anyone who is providing stem cells, that you'd like to see the CLIA certified lab report of their stem cell viability. Because there are some companies that have zero viability. So you think you're getting stem cells, but you're not. So and we were also working with the University of Utah, and stem cell therapy actually originated in Utah, is because of the Mormon Church that and the history of doing genealogy and looking at genetics, that this whole idea of stem cells and where we came from became a real science. And so we have some of the best stem cell researchers here in Utah, where we are. This is a report from the NIH about mesenchymal stem cells and their derivatives, potential longevity promoting tools, and another one on anti-aging based stem cell therapy, a scoping review, and recent progress in stem cell and immune cell based interventions for aging and age related disorders. So I think that's any questions. I'd love to get some feedback from you, what you think of today's presentation, any comments, and just love to go around and hear from everybody. Maurice, if you wouldn't mind, since your camera's on, sharing what you thought of today, or any comments, thoughts, questions. Well, you're muted. You're muted, Maurice. We can't hear you. Okay.
Thank you very much. It was a very nice, a very good presentation. I learned a lot, and I have a few questions to you. The first one is to know if someone in my area in Africa is interested to have the information about these stem cells. These what is the way for him to be able to do it, to have the test. The first thing, because you thought, if I can't remember, it's 850,000
For
for
what is that, 850,000?
Yeah, the
Oh,
test
yeah,
is $850.
yeah,
yes, yes,
Uh,
$850.
yeah.
yeah, but there's a code in the chat there that
Yes,
you can use. It'll
I've
give you
seen it.
350 off.
But to
Yes,
get the test, we wouldn't be able to get it to Senegal. Getting the blood results back to the U.S. through customs would be difficult to do. So I don't think it. But there are some other tests that we can look at. It's called the phenome age, that's done off of blood markers. I can send you the link to the phenome age test, and it's not the same, but it is looking. It's a very good. The University of Washington actually just developed it 2 weeks ago, and with 9 different blood markers that you could do there in Senegal easily.
okay. And the second thing is that I really like when you said that we are not physician, but we are the physician of our body. And this is very important, because what we eat and how we sleep and the relation we have with people, the interactions we have with people, I think these are the three bases of a good health. And the more we are open, the more we talk with people, the more we share about our life, about our experiences, the more we get healthier every day. And that's why this kind of this kind of call is, for me, it's a blessing. And I thank you very much sharing your information and making me aware of uh, holistic life, holistic health is important. We have to take of our health in a holistic way. And that's the African way of making medicine.
I think that's beautiful. Thank you so much, Maurice. It's so great to have you
Yes.
on the call, and to be here from West Africa is so amazing.
Thank you. Me too. It's amazing to have people from Utah and sharing with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. George, how about comments, thoughts?
Well, it was extremely informative and psychologically enlivening to participate and be a part of it. I'm very appreciative, and I know that one of the key important parts of longevity and living a long life is having that interaction, social interaction with people that is elevating the spirit and consciousness and frequency and vibration, and you achieve that for everyone on the call today. And I guess according to entanglement and string theory, you had a little bit of influence throughout the universe this morning. So I appreciate that. Um, I'm always interested in the fine distinction between uh, there are a lot of things that energize the mitochondria and the cells and bring us more energy, greater cognitive function. And then there's a few things that actually regenerate, cause the stem cells and mitochondria to actually kind of like the immortal jellyfish and the lizard, it grows back its tail. A few things actually regenerate and create new young cells in the body, and it's a fascinating study because I don't know how accurate it is, but when we grew up 65 years ago in grade school, they said, well, your body every 7 years, regrows all of its cell. Everything changes, and some things are in 1 year and some things in 2 years, and the whole concept of aging and cellular growth and regeneration, and then regenerating at a younger biological age than just like a scar that continues to regrow on your skin. There really is no physical reason for the skin to reproduce the scar. It's just a pattern, and changing those patterns from one direction in the bell curve to continue. It's a fascinating study, the distinction between regenerative youth building and continuing the pattern of aging. So it was very stimulating. Thank you.
Thank you, George. And Ashley.
Oh, thank you. Wow, this was an amazing presentation and bringing up the ideas of looking at moving in our healthcare industry across the world is the opportunity to have durable medical equipment, the Aura Ring, and other things you mentioned about even glucose monitoring. The opportunity of monitoring our biometrics, our biomechanics, and values that can give us our biosynthesis of our body moment to moment, hour to hour, day to day at home really provides us an opportunity of measuring how we're doing at home, right? It's one way to get measured at the doctor's office and talk about like what you are doing and what you aren't doing in your life. But when you're living it in real time and getting real time feedback in your body and the metrics of how your body's functioning is valuable data for people to learn what does work and what doesn't work. What shot my blood sugar up? It could be yelling at my husband. That shot my blood sugar up. So we just don't really understand. Most people don't understand that hypertension comes from stress. Well, then how are you going to learn how your stress is, whether it's mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, or any kind of way? Like, what is the stress that I'm experiencing that creates hypertension? So we're not very aware of getting real-time feedback in our healthcare journey. And also, I really love that you and your company provides home lab monitoring so that you can get the lab results at home, you can send it in, and then get it back later for evaluation. What that does is that keeps us into we could even move beyond primary care, like going to a doctor's office or an urgent care or other areas of wellness centers, and we can actually do a lot of the care at home so that we're better prepared when we need to see a healthcare professional or another advanced resource. We have a lot of the data points ready to go. And then people can make healthier, broader, and more specific plans of care that we wouldn't have otherwise if we didn't have that data with us and knowing about it. It also helps us have patient advocacy. That means we can advocate for ourselves, like you shared. You're the CEO of your own healthcare. It's not the doctor and the other resources. Those are there to help you discern what's your next best path to take. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all so much. This has been wonderful to have this event today and to share this with you and to have your participation. We look forward to having more events like this and keeping the conversation going. And, because life keeps going. And I love what you said, Ashley, about how important it is to know your markers and yes, I believe that beyond biohacking is bioembodiment, but we're not there yet. That you need to first have the aura ring to know, well, what are my sleep stages? I didn't even know I had stages of sleep. And then eventually that when the student is really ready, the teacher disappears and the ring comes off and I say, how did I sleep? I know how I slept. I slept well or terrible, but we've learned a language which I call body ease of how the body speaks and notifies us. It's doing that right now. We've just forgotten the language of the body and the signals that are now imperceptible. This is when if I break into Chinese, you go "oh, gong gong dong wa," it just becomes meaningless, and they were just noises. But if you knew Chinese, you'd know exactly what I said. And we need to become fluent in this language of body ease, and to be at ease.
I'm wondering if there's a correlation between the study of longevity and clear plastic glasses frames with you and Ashley and me.
Yes, we'll need to get Maurice some clear glass frames, and it'll take 5 years off.
I'm ready for the biomarker of how to improve presbyopia, right? It's take those readers off.
There's some exercises you can do of close focus, far focus to regain those muscles. You're supposed to cover one eye when you do it and focus on your finger close and then look in the distance. It's like doing biceps curls like Brendan does.
Well, if you looked at, one of the specialties that I think I'm the least knowledgeable about in the longevity field is dentistry and longevity. Are there many dental longevity clinics?
There are not many, but the biological dentistry is becoming huge and looking at infections and health starts in the mouth. This is the first digestion starts in the mouth. Even the simple practice of chewing your food better than we chew it instead of gulping it changes everything downstream. And but there's there's a biological dentist here in Utah that we work with, have been working with for a couple of years. Dr. Chandler, that is people come from all over to see him. There's another one, Dr. Gandhi in New York that we work with as well. That the biological dentistry specialty is um, very small currently, but it's exploding.
Are they using stem cells on gum and what do you call it? The jawbone that your teeth are implanted in. They use stem cell because I know they're they're uh, they're doing a lot of grafting of that bone to make it stronger for older age, us old people. But
Yeah,
I was curious what stem cell uh, research has been done in the mouth.
let
There's
me get back to you
peptide.
on that.
There's
Thanks.
at the peptide conference that had happened in Phoenix last month. There was a dentist there that talked about peptides and using that.
Hmm.
I sense that when the nervous system's online and the brain and body is what more integrated, then the availability of stem cells working in that area is greater. So if we have numbness in the mouth and we aren't aware and our body is unaware of how to help it heal, I sense that stem cells get more difficult to actually do their work
Yeah.
because they're not getting the signaling from peptides or enzymes of where to go and how to repair. So I think there's a lot more to this molecular and cellular medicine that we're just beginning to open the Pandora's box in.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Well, thank you,
Well,
Michael.
thank you,
Thank you,
everybody.
everybody. Good to see
Thank
you,
you.
Ashley.
Have a wonderful weekend. I'll
Thank
see you
you.
later.
Thank you.
Okay, see you later. Bye-bye.